We don't need a pricing strategy. It's easy, just undercut our competitors. That is absolutely not true, and I'm going to talk you through why that is.
Hello and welcome to Engage and Thrive, also known as EAT, your coffee catch-up with me, your host, Taelon, where we will go through common problems and hurdles that come up in business, marketing and advertising and try and demystify them. I know firsthand how complicated and confusing it can seem with all the different acronyms and all the things to do in business. So let me try and help you be better in business. First things first, let's start with grabbing a coffee.
The first thing to myth-bust about pricing strategies is pricing is so complex and there's so many variables that need to be thought about and included. So the takeaways we're going to go through today and any advice that you get, just remember it all depends on your business. There's going to be so many different strategies for if you have a product versus if you have a service versus if you're testing something like beta testing based on like where you are as a business. There's just so many things to consider, and obviously what your business goals are, so what you're looking to achieve at that point in time. So just remember it needs continuous optimization and working through. So a pricing strategy is not just let's set it, it's done and we never need to review it. To bring this back, if you notice regularly you will get emails from companies saying they've had to increase their prices, and this is maybe because they've added new features or inflation or they've changed their pricing model of how they're doing things. Everyone knows this can happen. So pricing is just another one of those things that it's a moving beast, and it goes without saying that it is hard, and also just guesstimating in the air might give you a good starting point, but there should be some thoughts and research around your pricing to validate what you're doing and to make sure that your business is profitable. So as always, let's go through vocab of acronyms and things that may come up when people are talking about pricing strategies. The first one is obviously ROI, so return on investment. The second one is LTV, lifetime value. Then we've got CLV, customer lifetime value. Then we've got freemium. So this is one that people may talk about quite regularly. A freemium model means you allow someone to start with and it's typically a service, not a product, and they have all the features of a premium service, but you let them trial for 30 days. So the idea is that you hook them in to kind of test and try out what you're offering, and at the end of the 30 days, you hope they upgrade. The other one is price elasticity. So understanding how much your product or service can change within the market based on certain conditions. Okay, today we're going to go through 4 key takeaways. So number 1 in terms of key takeaways is baseline costs. So we've covered this off previously about software costs and people costs, and the same applies here. When you're setting your pricing strategy, the first thing you need to understand is what are the costs for running your business or producing your service or producing your product. So I like to call this keeping the lights on. So what do you need to pay for to have your business going and delivering what it needs to do? If you have a product, this may be how much does it cost to manufacture it, package it and send it to one customer versus manufacture it, package it and send it to 100 customers. You need to understand that pricing. If you have a service business, how much does it cost to deliver that service? That may be one person's time, it may be 5 people's time, but you need to understand that cost first, as that's your baseline, and you need to be charging at least that, hopefully more, to make a profit on it as your first pricing point. Okay, number 2 to understand is your target audience, and this a lot of the time will come down to geographical target audience. So to give you a real life example, Netflix, we all get the same Netflix shows in every country and every region. Obviously, some things may have a region content block. However, we all pay different prices for Netflix according on the region and country that you sign up from. So, for example, if you sign up for Netflix as a base package in the US, it's $9.99. If you sign up in the UK, it's £6.99. And that's not just a currency conversion. That's actually based on cost of living, how much other products are in the market. And as far as I know, if you sign up for Netflix in Thailand, which is where I am doing this recording from, you're looking at around 199 baht, which in pounds is about £4. So they actually base their pricing on the local market, and they flex it according to the local market. The same thing you could think about with Apple products, right? Apple products are different costs in different countries, and that isn't only a VAT thing. Obviously, if you take VAT out of the equation for each country, the baseline cost differs per country. The next thing to think about is number 3, is the flexibility of your pricing. So will your pricing, your product or your service, vary based on demand? Again, to give you another example, Uber, their pricing increases when demand increases. So when it's really busy and it's hard to get a driver at the time, you will see an increase in pricing because it's the busy period. The same could go with if you have a product and it's a busy time of year, or it's a much wanted product where you have a wait list. Will your product increase in price? Or you may do the opposite. You may actually have a hugely low priced product to enter the market to drum up that interest and get lots of people buying that product. So then you know that more word of mouth is going to get out there, more people are going to be sharing about the product, there's going to be more want. You're going to create that desire for it because it's such a low cost pricing. The next thing is understanding number 4, which is understanding customer value perception. So this is very much about how do people see the value of the product or the service that you're delivering. So I'm going to go back to an example I used earlier about Apple. Apple products as a baseline product, so a headphone or a phone, may be the same as what's being delivered on an Android or what's being delivered on a Nokia or whatever it is, but Apple have created this luxurious lifestyle feeling, so people are willing to pay more for an Apple product. I know I am. The same could be said with sports gear. Okay, if you take for example Nike fitness wear versus Lululemon versus a local brand in your Asda shop, the products might come from the same factory, but it's around the brand perception that they've created, or that desire or that need, or the lifestyle you would get by having that product. So that, again, that value perception from a customer of how much they're willing to pay for that product. Okay, so that's to kind of wrap up everything that you need to consider when you're doing your pricing strategy. Like I said, those are just to give you some, I suppose, food for thought about how you do your pricing strategy. The one thing to kind of reiterate that I mentioned in the beginning is your pricing strategy needs to be optimized. So you need to you may decide you want to test a costing of where you are right now, kind of see the bite from your audience, and then flex it up and down and be open about it. The other thing is, if you have a new a tool or a software or a service offering, you may decide that actually you want to do a beta testing or the first 100 people. But be honest with them and say, look, we're newly launched, and so we want to try this out, and then our prices will increase once we, go to market. Or you might say, because you're an early adopter and you've signed up early, you stick on this pricing for a lifetime, and you get them to buy in. There's also a whole nother kind of thought around how you do your pricing with, do you do ad hoc pricing, so one-off pricing? Do you come up with a monthly subscription pricing? Do you come up with a lifetime pricing? Again, those are all more service-based or online kind of pricing. With products, it may differ. However, they kind of also are starting to smurge into each other, where you have the likes of Amazon offering like monthly subscriptions to buy products. So if you want to, I saw recently I could buy supplements on Amazon in the UK, and if I sign up for a monthly subscription of my supplements, then the pricing gets cheaper. Now obviously that model would have to be worked out completely, but there's so many variables to think about. So as the bonus thing, just to wrap up, is just remember, you need to be learning, optimizing, getting feedback from the market, understanding your market, understanding your audience, and specifically your geographical location, and kind of benchmarking where you are in the market. So understanding what product or service you're delivering and what else people are paying for in the market. So don't think your product is super luxurious and then actually outprice yourself because you perceive it as this, and we all want to perceive it as this, right? But are people actually going to pay that? Anyway, thank you for joining me for another episode of Engage and Thrive with your host Taelon, and see you next week.